Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts, sports journalist David Todd, and from SteelersDepot.com, Dave Bryan. Just a couple of Daves, chillin', talking Steelers. Now, here's Dave and Dave.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave. He's Dave Bryan of SteelersDepot.com, the place to get your latest and greatest Steelers information. And I'm David Todd. It's Season 9, Episode 15. And Dave, the final exhibition game tomorrow. It came and went. And, as Mike said yesterday, there is still an opportunity for guys to make an impression tomorrow. And then we will be within kind of 10 days of the season opener.
Yeah, these next few days are going to kind of probably start running together after today. I assume they have some sort of a walkthrough today, with the game, of course, being Thursday night against the Panthers. After that game happens, the Steelers are usually pretty quiet with their initial cut, so I'm not sure how many will actually leak out on Friday. A few might, and then of course by Saturday they have to be cut down to 53, which is Alex and I kind of talked on the other day, probably just 54, because if things go like last year, Le'Veon Bell, probably going to report either on Friday or Saturday, take his physical. They'll probably hee-haw around about him signing that tender of his. They'll probably ask for and receive a 2-week roster exemption with him. And in other words, it'll give him an opportunity to carry 54 guys, technically, I guess, for a while. And if you remember back to last year, the Steelers did not remove Le'Veon Bell from the exempt list until the Saturday right before the game. So technically, they could probably be expected to carry, another 54-man roster, from Saturday to Saturday, if you will. Right now, it doesn't appear as though they're going to have to carve out any kind of an extra space for a guy to first be on the 53 and then move to IR. Now, of course, that could change depending on what happens Thursday night in that game. Cross your fingers that nobody gets injured there. But, what do you think about that loophole that they have there? I mean, is it one that needs to be looked into? Is this just, hey, they had to do without Le'Veon Bell the whole offseason. They need to make sure he's in good physical condition. This is what the roster exemption is made for. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this last year as things went on. I mean, the Steelers obviously don't have to activate him for week 1 if they didn't want to. I mean, I would be shocked if they didn't, obviously, but it's a situation where, look, the Steelers are going to activate him unless something completely unforeseen happens. But, that potentially can cost Le'Veon Bell money if he's not activated for the first 2 weeks. But I wouldn't see any reason they wouldn't. It's like, I mean, the guy's coming back. You get some period of time to evaluate whether he is in game shape, whether it's Le'Veon Bell or Aaron Donald or anybody else in those types of situations. So I don't really view it as a loophole. I think it's one of those things that's negotiated in the CBA, mutually beneficial to both sides. So you just move forward with it. But it does give the Steelers an extra week to evaluate everybody else on the roster, and if somebody were to get injured, to make it, potentially, make another roster move that gives them greater flexibility. So, the Steelers lose the benefit of having Le'Veon Bell in training camp for 5 weeks, but they gain the benefit of getting some time to assess, which really isn't probably used to assess Le'Veon Bell. It's used to kind of manage the rest of the roster.
Yes, it is. And that roster now includes a new player. I wrote during the offseason, and this has become quite an annual tradition for Steelers GM Kevin Colbert, and that meaning let's add some players after late in the process who weren't in training camp with us. He's done it once again, not long after Alex and I got off the podcast on when was it Monday? The word started to surface that they acquired wide receiver Ryan Switzer in a trade with the Oakland Raiders. They sent the Raiders a 5th-round pick in the 2019 draft. The Raiders sent them Ryan Switzer along with their 6th-round draft pick in 2019. Ryan Switzer was a 4th-round draft pick originally of the Dallas Cowboys in 2017. Was played one season with them last year. The Cowboys traded him to the Raiders, I think, during the draft there. Right around draft time, and now he's already on his 3rd team. Undersized guy the Steelers had some eyes on ahead of the 2017 draft. A returner, punt returner, kickoff returner, returned I think something like 99 punts at North Carolina, just a few kickoffs. He did return kickoffs and punts for the Cowboys last year. This is a guy that predominantly plays in the slot as well.
I got to say I love the deal, and I basically a month ago tweeted out the 2 positions where the Steelers really lack depth, where an injury to a frontline player could be devastating, were wide receiver and linebacker. And some people took issue with the wide receiver point. I still felt that way. Obviously, this is a deal. This is replacing Eli Rogers is what it is. You got a return man who can play in the slot. He's going to be your 4th or 5th receiver, depending on how you want to rank guys, where you put Justin Hunter. I loved watching this guy play in college. I mean, he devastated Pitt. If you remember the one game the Panthers played, it was probably Switzer's junior year, where North Carolina had to go the length of the field at the end of the game to win, and they did. I think he caught the winning touchdown pass. Little curl routes, slants, quick hitters that Dave has, written about on the site about kind of how he catches the ball, how he's caught the ball in the NFL, obviously with the Cowboys, short passes behind the line of scrimmage, in space type of stuff. He's an elusive guy. We'll see. I mean, certainly, the Steelers didn't give up a lot to get him, but they gave up something to get him. And, yeah, if Eli Rogers were healthy and ready to go, they wouldn't be making this deal. But apparently the Steelers, don't expect him or don't think he's going to be ready here to start the season. So he'll be 6 weeks at least on the PUP, and they'll reevaluate. And this may very well make Eli Rogers' journey back to the Steelers more difficult. If Switzer is a productive player and good in the return game, and that may be the sole determinant of his productivity, it just may be the return game. Then Eli Rogers, maybe he has played his last game as a Steeler. But what it tells you is the Steelers didn't see anything from if they were willing to go make this deal. It tells you they didn't see anything from Quadri Henderson in practice or, obviously in the games where he didn't get many opportunities to return balls. But they don't think that he is an NFL capable return guy. Certainly we realized that they didn't feel like Quadri Henderson could contribute in the receiving game. I mean, he made his one catch last week, and that was the only one of the rare targets that he got, and he wasn't even getting tons of targets or even reps in up at St. Vincent. So they didn't feel like he was the answer. So they go out, give up an asset or exchange assets to get the opportunity to give Switzer the opportunity, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, I like the deal, but that doesn't mean the deal is going to be a success. We'll see how he does.
Yeah, we will see how he does. Look, anything to help get a few extra yards on some punts or kickoffs. They tried a few years ago with Jacoby Jones late in the season.
That was misguided from the start. That was a disaster.
That didn't work out too well. The whole what is the whole Dree Archer? It just seems like a whirlwind the last few years with what they've tried to throw back there. Obviously Antonio Brown provides you some spark at times back there, but now at least for those of listeners that have been worried about him being involved in a couple extra car wrecks a week, you no longer you shouldn't have to worry about that moving forward here. That we've seen Justin Gilbert. I mean, Fitzgerald Toussaint. Go down the list of guys that have, Martavis Bryant, they threw back there a couple of times for kickoff returns. what they're telling us is this is the guy. And Mike Tomlin said that there shouldn't be any adjustment period. This guy's basically been returning kicks or been a returner his entire football career. It should be right like swimming or riding a bike and all like that. I don't care if he swims or acts like he rides a bike. If he can get that ball past the 30, 35-yard line, I'm all for it. Now, how is he as a slot wide receiver? I went back through his 2016 tape at North Carolina. Obviously, I think he played a little less than 100 snaps for the Cowboys, offensive snaps. He didn't put up a lot of stats there, so it's kind of hard to look at that. But I went back and looked at his 2016 senior season at North Carolina. 8 games, almost 90 total targets in those games, and you can learn a lot about a guy and how he was used in that. And he had how many is it? 89 of his targets from that 2016 season were contextualized by me in that post, and he had 67 receptions included in those. And 24 of them, David, 24 of those 67 that I contextualized were caught either behind the original line of scrimmage or right at it. And in fact, that right at it was just one of them. So 23 behind the line of scrimmage, one right at, and a lot of those were basically, the bubble, smoke tunnel, wide receiver screens to either side. I think one of them was a jet sweep pitch forward of him coming across in front of the quarterback. That's primarily how they used him. They used him on a lot of those slot kind of, rub routes where the outside receiver will release ahead of him and he'll rub off underneath him for kind of like a 5, 6, 7 yard out route towards the sideline. They ran that. One of the things that I really like that he does that you don't see that they didn't run a ton of with him is what they call that slot corner route. Basically, you come out of the slot, you kind of stem that thing towards the post at about 12 yards, and then you break off to the corner that way. If you go back and watch that touchdown against Pitt, David, I think from last year, that's a great example of that slot corner route there. He has the speed if he gets a free release out of the slot to run away from pretty much anybody. He's a jitterbug. He really is. I like the way he kind of sticks his foot in the ground. I think one other touchdown that he had, I can't remember if it was against Stanford in the bowl game or I think it was late in the season, maybe against North Carolina State or Stanford won. He out of the slot on the right side, he runs one of those, what they call a post corners, where you go up about 12 yards, you break towards the outside corner post. You go up 12 yards, you act like you're going to run that corner, give that little stick, that little head nod, and then break off to the post. That was a beautifully run route that ended up in a touchdown right there. He is not a guy that you're going to go deep a lot with. He is not a combative ball catcher. You're not going to see, at least in 2016, any highlight reel catches with him. He does not have a large catch radius, so if you throw him a bad ball behind him, which, by the way, you go back and you watch some of these throws that Mitch Trubisky made at North Carolina in 2016, you're wondering, man, you kind of wonder if that guy deserved to go where he went, but he's not a bad ball catcher. But what he is he is a true-handed receiver that I think is a smart route runner that will get his reads and everything along with that. And if you put the ball on the money, he's going to catch it. I think he averaged something like 4.9 yards after the catch on the 80-something whatever passes, or on the 67 passes that I contextualized him catching during that 2016 season. So that should give you a good idea of exactly who Ryan Switzer is.
Dave, how many snaps do you think he plays the first 4 weeks of the season? Not special team snaps. Over under 40, 10 a game.
Yeah, that might be pushing it a little bit, David. I think early on in the season, I think maybe you getting to the point where maybe you get him on the field for 10 snaps, right? If you put him on, who you taking off first and foremost? Are you going? You're probably not going to pull Juju off a ton, right? Would he be in there in a lot? In 3 wide receiver sets, 4, empty. Maybe empty might be the best bet with him, right? Four wide receivers with him, a couple of guys in the slot. That's ideally, I think, the best way, barring injury, that you're going to use him. At least, initially, I'd be surprised if he hits 2 or 3. He's a guy I think. Look, you hate to. What's the obvious player comparison here, David?
Well, the obvious one is Eli Rogers. If you're talking about, what's your big picture, you think about the white slot receivers for the Patriots over the years. That's kind of what you'd like a guy to develop into, but that's a little bit of a pipe dream, I think.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of that Welker to him. You can see it. Red zone. I might be tempted to see what kind of mismatch I can get deep down in the red zone, because you see Welker and Brady a lot of times run those quick, what they call them, those arrow, where he cuts in, those angle routes,
Sure.
When you're about the 5-yard line, and you'll see Edelman, run that quick in and then back out again. With the maybe an outside receiver carrying that outside defender back into the inside, where the slot guy gets one-on-one and can beat him on the angle there. Now I think you might try to do that with Switzer early on, but overall, and barring injury, if he plays 100 offensive snaps, that's something, right?
Yeah, as you said, look, if we still don't. Let's be realistic. We don't have a great idea of what James Washington is. We've seen guys be good in the preseason and not carried over. We'll see how that goes. He certainly, in most of our minds, is probably the number 3 guy. But Justin Hunter's probably going to get some opportunities here early in the season. It would look like Heyward-Bey, assuming he makes the team, is probably not going to get many opportunities. So, there'll be a chance for Switzer to get on the field. What would be interesting is how quickly they acclimate him into the game that's not just a return game. It'll be interesting to see if he gets some snaps coming up here on tomorrow night.
I think you can probably try to give him a couple of snaps Thursday night. Obviously the big thing that you want out of him Thursday night against the Panthers. Let's see you return some kickoffs and punts in that game, get you acclimated that way. Maybe you can get him a few snaps Thursday on offense late in the game out of the slot as well too. If you put him on the field and you take a guy like Juju off, you're obviously losing a physical player in Juju and what he can provide you in the running game as a blocker. I got to be honest, I didn't go looking deep into Switzer's blocking. I'm not expecting to find too terribly much. He is a little chihuahua, if you will, but a willing guy. But I don't think there's too much there as far as what he's going to give you as far as profitability in that area. But first 4 games of the season, if he got 20 offensive snaps, talking about Switzer, I think that would be really some noteworthy, amount of snaps from the first quarter of the season on in. Maybe you can slightly raise that a little bit, like I said, 4 wide receiver sets. But make no mistake about it, this guy was brought in to be a returner, and the obvious fallout from this, I think, is Damon Patterson, Marcus Tucker, obviously Quadri Henderson. Those guys just they really don't stand a chance, I don't think, at this point. Tucker, we will find out what the nature of that ankle injury is he suffered the other night. Patterson, of course, got off to the hot start against the Eagles and kind of, had 3 catches, I think, against Green Bay and then none against the Tennessee Titans on Saturday. So he becomes really a prime practice squad candidate. Where are you at on your wide receiver numbers now? Is it 5? Is it 6? If it's 6, is it indeed Hunter and DHB going to be part of that?
Yeah, I think, this just goes back to the buzz about guys that we get kind of from OTAs and minicamp. Doesn't mean that it never happens, because there was buzz about Mike Hilton, and Mike Hilton ended up being a big contributor to the Steelers last year. But more often than not, the buzz through that stuff is, and because the wide receiver position is such a visible thing. When you think about OTAs and minicamps, who's most likely to make an impressive play? Because it's not contact, it's going to be wide receivers and defensive backs. Defensive backs picking balls off and wide receivers making great catches. So every year it seems like in minicamp and OTAs, we hear about guys making, catches. We heard it about Justin Hunter last year. We heard it about Tucker this year. It's really, if you're going to discount something, that's the thing to probably discount, because these guys know they're not getting drilled. They can go up and make whatever catch they can make. And so it goes. So, yeah, I think it tells you that they don't think much of Tucker or Patterson in the bigger picture of being guys who are going to contribute to this team. Now, maybe they shock us and one of those 2 guys makes the team. I'd be very surprised, and I now would be probably surprised if they both make the practice squad. You have Eli Rogers. You assume Eli Rogers is going to, he's going to be on the sideline for 5 or 6 weeks. He's going to be on the sideline for 6 weeks, and then the opportunity to bring him back in practice and see if they want to add him. So you probably don't need to have both. And then it's going to be Danny Smith's call. Is Darrius Heyward-Bey your best special teams player on the roster? And is he going to take a roster spot instead of Fitz Toussaint, Stephen Ridley, Jason Samuels? One of the defensive backs, if you want to throw guys like Dangerfield in the mix of that conversation, where does it all fit in as to where guys are going to fall out? I would guess right now they'll keep 6, but it wouldn't surprise me if that number were 5.
And if it is 5, who's out?
I would think Darrius Heyward-Bey is probably out. I mean, I don't have a great feel over the past 18 months for Justin Hunter and how good a player he is. I really don't. We didn't see anything last year to really make an assessment. I think that's a valuable assessment. So,
I'll interrupt you. I think all you had to do is watch that game this past Saturday. That game against the Titans preseason game was a microcosm of Justin Hunter's entire career.
Right. And so, it's, you get something, you get something, but you don't get exactly what you want. So it's just a question. Are they still banking on his size and potential upside? Because look, your tight end situation isn't great. And, we constantly hear the refrain that Ben likes a big receiver. So he's his big receiver. So, maybe he gets to stick around because of that again.
Do you have it's too bad we can't take Justin Hunter and Darrius Heyward-Bey and make one wide receiver out of them, right?
Yeah.
It would add a little bit more speed to Hunter. It would give DHB a little bit better hands. You could use DHB's football IQ in Hunter. You could use DHB's physicality and ability to play special teams in Hunter. You could use Hunter's last-minute ability to separate in DHB. I mean, it would be a perfect, if you want to take 2 players and mesh them together to get one player. Those 2 would be an interesting mesh right there. Unfortunately, you can't do that. The fact of the matter is, Hunter, Mike Tomlin, did you see Alex has a great gif of that up on his Twitter feed right after Hunter. Hunter blew the read from Ben on the second play from scrimmage. Just missed the signal. Ben was not happy with him. That should have been a deep 80-yard touchdown, or at least an attempt at it. Ben was not happy with that. We've seen Hunter blow assignments in his short time with the Steelers, but then you turn around and you see that last-minute separation and that touchdown, and that he made against the Titans, and then not long series 2 after that, you see him get hit right in the breadbasket from Landry Jones, and then that ball ends up getting turned over, an interception. But Mike Tomlin's reaction after that DHB touchdown, it makes him really seem like a Mike Tomlin guy, and it really makes you wonder, will they indeed keep Hunter, and is DHB's special team prowess enough? Do you have to look at DHB just as a special teams player and then remove the wide receiver position from him because he is that good? In other words, this year's, again, Arnaz battle, if you will.
Yeah, look, I mean, he's not incompetent at wide receiver. I mean, he's gone out there. He knows the route tree. He can do it. He's made some catches when asked to do so. I don't think he's a zero as a wide receiver. So he gives you depth there, and he's going to dress on game day. So the question is, is Justin Hunter going to be a guy who doesn't get a helmet on game day? Because Switzer's going to get a helmet, and if DHB is on the team, he's going to get a helmet. So then the question is, are you dressing Justin Hunter? Are you keeping him around to not dress him again? And that's the question mark. When you say, would you rather have a Fitz Toussaint or even a Stephen Ridley as an extra running back ahead of him? And I don't know. I mean, so let's change the question a little bit and go back to the running back situation with Ridley, nursing an injury, as Tomlin said on Tuesday. We didn't, we saw Samuels do some things. Where does he stand on your pecking order of running backs?
And that's a great point real quick about Hunter too. I mean, if you keep 6, are you really going to dress 6 right out of the chute? I could understand maybe an argument that you maybe, for one reason or the other, you don't dress maybe James Washington for a game or two, but that seems like a stretch right now at this point. So if you have 6, is Justin Hunter going to be? Can you deal Justin Hunter to anybody?
No,
probably not.
No
right?
chance. Yeah. No.
You have teams out there like New England that might snatch Hunter up just to take a look at him. Should he get cut? But nobody in their right mind would give you a 7th round draft pick for a guy with 1 year left on his contract. I wouldn't think. So that that's a good point. And let's be clear here. Hunter, what has Hunter done? What can Hunter do for you outside of go deep? Right? What else can he do? Nothing, right? So that's going to be an interesting conversation they're going to have. It sure would be nice if you had special teams value. Okay, back to what you just asked about the running backs there. Look, Jalen Samuels showed us more in this game against the Titans, but did he show us anything that we didn't already know?
No, look, he caught the pass in space and eluded a tackle and ran through a tackle. Good for him. You see, he plays football. I thought it's a good play by Justin Samuels. I don't think that play in and of itself is going to get him on the team.
But is he, are you at all fearful if for some reason Samuels were to get cut that he wouldn't clear waivers?
No.
Me either. What does he offer you outside of being a number 3 running back? Is he, if you keep him, is he?
You're not going to dress.
Well, normally they like to keep, if they do dress 3 running backs, they like them to be able to play on special teams. I don't know if we've seen enough out of him on special teams to warrant giving him a helmet.
No, and Fitz is going to play special teams if he makes the team. Ridley's a wild card. I thought Ridley had a chance to make the team, but him not playing the past couple of games, I'm way less confident that he makes the team.
Yeah, and I've kind of
less than 50%.
And it's a groin issue with him too. Kevin Colbert said it a couple of weeks ago, and that's what ended up keeping him held out of the Green Bay game, why he missed the Titans game. I mean, if he makes it back, if he doesn't suit up Thursday, I'm not sure how you can make an argument to keep him. Fitzgerald Toussaint as an overall guy right now. Look, I get the whole thing. Jalen Samuels upside, yada yada. You need him with James Conner next year. Blah blah blah. You can't look at next year right now. You got to look at right now. What and we're not going to get much sympathy on this podcast by going this direction, David, because a lot of people just do not like Fitzgerald Toussaint because of that fumble in Denver in the playoffs a couple years ago. But if you're Danny Smith, I asked this on Twitter yesterday, if you're Danny Smith, who are you banging the table for right now between Fitzgerald Toussaint and Jalen Samuels? And even after acquiring, look, thank God now you don't have to use Fitzgerald Toussaint as a kick returner, but you could still use him as one of those guys back deep to help block for Ryan Switzer, right? I mean, which one gives you more? And I think that I don't think that decision has been made yet by the Steelers coaches.
Yeah, I guess I'm down to the fact that I think they keep three running backs and obviously Rosie Nix, so you've got four. I would bet on Toussaint today. I would have bet that Ridley and Toussaint both had a chance. I still don't think Samuels makes the team. I think he goes to the practice squad. I feel pretty comfortable in that. And then, we get back to the tight end situation where obviously we know the three guys who are going to be on the team. I don't think it'll be anybody else. So that opens up that spot for the sixth wide receiver, and that's Darrius Heyward-Bey. So I do think maybe it comes down to a question of Samuels and Heyward-Bey. Samuels obviously practice squad eligibility. Fitz and DHB obviously don't have practice squad eligibility. So I think you'll see them move that direction and go with the veteran guys again. So, betting today, it's going to be Hunter, DHB, and Fitz all on the team. Samuel's not on the team. The two younger receivers, Patterson and Tucker, not on the team. All three of them potentially on the practice squad, and it kind of sorts things out very simply. And again, not very different than at the end of last year. You're not going to, this isn't a team with a lot of turnover from what happened at the end of last season.
All right, now let me ask you this: we've been talking about this 54th roster spot for the first week. Would you entertain the idea of carrying, okay, let's say Bell comes in, you want to evaluate him, you put him on your, you ask for and you receive a 2-week roster exemption with him. Would you entertain the idea of at least from Saturday to Saturday carrying Connor, Toussaint, and Samuels on your initial 53 along with Bell, and then maybe making a decision a Saturday later? In other words,
sure. I mean, if there's a pro and a con to that. One is if you cut them on the original Saturday, you got hundreds, 1,000. What do you got? You got 25 times 30, so you got 700 guys. Well, you're gonna even more than that, right? You're gonna have about 1,000 guys. I guess you're gonna get close to 1,000 guys going to be on the waiver wire. So that's a lot for teams to sift through. Guys do not sneak through the waiver wire. Every team is going to look at every guy on the waiver wire. It's not like we missed him. This is people's jobs. They'll spend the whole coaching staff will spend 24 hours going over every name cut by every team. So it's not like somebody snuck through the waiver wire. But you do have 1,000 guys, and he may fall down on the priority list. Whereas if you do it on the following Saturday, maybe somebody lost a running back or whatever, the name's going to stick out because it'll be one of the few transactions on that day, and maybe somebody will say, you know what, let's take a flyer. I think neither will happen. I would almost guarantee neither would happen, but that's the pro and the con of doing it the first Saturday or the second Saturday.
Well, keep in mind though, if you do it on the Saturday before the first game, okay. Your week 1 game is Sunday against the Browns. All right, you make the move on Saturday, the day before the game. This is 5 days after the initial cuts. Nobody's going to claim anybody, one would think, on a Saturday or Sunday of week one, right? I mean, you could. I mean, there's nothing against it, but I mean, you're set for your first game. In other words, the odds of player clearing waivers, especially a running back such as Samuels that late, would be to me a lot better. Initially there. But regardless, you're right. It's not like they can misspell his name on the transaction sheet and people say, I don't know who that Salem Daniels is. You're not going to hide a guy that way. But I mean, look, you're gonna carry 54. So who does this? Let's move this direction with our talk now. Who does this benefit? Does it benefit L.J. Fort? Does it benefit sixth receiver?
It's not going to benefit anybody because somebody's going to get cut. So, and it's probably the same guy who would have been cut anyway. The only person it benefits is whoever doesn't get cut because somebody got injured in the week leading up to the Browns game. I mean, you stick around for 6 more days, sure, I guess there's benefit there. But, I don't – we've seen this happen. John Malecki a couple of years ago, he's the guy who makes the 53 on Saturday, and on Monday he's not with the team anymore. And he was actually out of football. He never got to play football again. Didn't go to the practice squad, didn't get signed by anybody, and that was the end of his career. So, it's – it's not over until Sunday at 10, when they walk out on the field against the Browns. The guys, there's still be things happening around the league and certainly for the Steelers.
Right, late Saturday afternoon.
Right.
Before that game. Okay, so you're telling me then you're not keeping Jalen Samuels. You're keeping what are you keeping right now?
Fitz, DHB, and Hunter. I think that's who the Steelers keep. Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning that way too, to be honest with you. Now, I will obviously not be shocked. I mean, I've had Jalen Samuels on my 53-man roster all offseason, but I just wonder what he brings you that at least initially, that Toussaint does. And can you get a guy like Samuels just to your practice squad instead? People are making a big deal out of what he did against the Titans this past Saturday. And my viewpoint of it is, what did he do that we didn't already know? If he would have knocked somebody's block off with a block on special teams or made a nice special teams tackle, my head would have maybe raised a little bit. But definitely, in my opinion, it's going to be an interesting choice when it comes to there. Now, all right. Anything else you want to talk about, kind of coming out of that game, roster wise? Matthew Thomas is making his 53, right?
So is L.J. Fort. I don't. Anybody who thinks otherwise is crazy.
I don't know. I could see Fort not making it, David.
Be shocked. I'll be shocked. Hey, look, I've been wrong before, so I'll be shocked if he doesn't. There's lots of room for linebackers because they don't have enough of them.
That's going to be another interesting conversation I think they're going to have because at this point you'll guarantee Thomas is making it, right? Would you bet my house that Thomas is making this 53?
I would say, yeah, he's going to make the 53. Yeah, I would say, I would put him at, 85. Yeah, I would say he's likely to make it.
Yeah, I think he will too. Now, Fort, I'm not sure I'd bet. Bless Fort's heart, man. That guy always gives you 110%. I just wonder if it's enough right now. I just, based on what happened last year, based on the way it looks like they want to put Thomas in some of these maybe initial, seminal packages that they have on second and very long and third and very long in an effort to try to get him on the field. You should know that he should be able to be a core special team guy right out of the chute too. That's kind of what, Fort, where I'm at right now, I think you keep 4 Because let's not forget, Matakavius is a good special teams player and probably your best, quite honestly, your best core special teams player right now.
Oh, yeah, no question he's making the team. That's a given.
I don't think you can. I don't think Fort makes it, man. I just don't think he makes it, especially if they keep. Are you keeping 5 outside linebackers? Are you going to go out and try to get somebody instead? Are you keeping Adams and Ola in addition to Chick and Dupree and Watt?
They're not both making the team.
So you're only keeping 4 outside linebackers, or really?
Yeah. Those guys aren't both making the team. That would shock me.
All right, which one of the two are you keeping then?
Well, I
would you keep Fort in lieu of in other words, would you keep Fort as a 5th inside linebacker in lieu of keeping either Keon Adams or Ola as a 5th outside linebacker?
For sure. Fort's a core special teams player.
Yeah, but who aren't you dressing now? If you keep 9, are you dressing all 9?
I think you can probably, depending on what you think of these young guys. Look, I'm telling you, neither of these young guys, the young outside guys, has done a lot to them. They're making the team by default. I don't think either of them's making it, because the Steelers think they're going to be, big time players. Now, that's where I think the waiver wire, the Steelers are going to find their guy, either through a trade this week or the waiver wire. They're going to find an edge guy to bring in here, and neither of those guys makes the team. But if it doesn't happen, one of them's going to make it. I guess you could argue that Ola's been the more productive of the two in the preseason, but Adams has a little bit more pedigree. So flip a coin. I don't have a strong view either way.
I would not be shocked if Ola didn't make it. I would not be shocked. I think he's a guy you can get to the practice squad, So, I could see a scenario. I think Keon Adams, the more athletic of the two, might be more of a help to you on special teams than Ola is. So, definitely, I wouldn't bet either way. I wouldn't bet my house either way when it comes to that. I'm tempted to keep 5 and not keep Fort, to be honest with you. But, I do admit that Fort offers you more than either one of those 2 outside linebackers on special teams. So it'll be interesting there. Any way whatsoever you're keeping 4 quarterbacks?
No. 0.
All right. And Mike Tomlin, in so many words, I guess, said that they weren't. He didn't say that they weren't, but he said, look, most teams keep 3. Go around the league, 2 to 3 is what's being kept. Blah, yada yada. Do you think Dobbs? Can you get anything in a trade for Dobbs?
No.
Yeah, I kind of find it hard. He would really have to blow it up this last week here. So with that, is it worth starting him? Do you understand the reason why you're starting him in this final game?
Yeah, I think they're doing it as courtesy to him. Look, if he clears waivers, he may be on the practice squad. I've said all along, Landry Jones's contract is up at the end of the season. It would not surprise me at all. Would not disappoint me at all if they extended Landry Jones after this season. But if Josh Dobbs is on the practice squad and they like what they see, there's an opportunity for Josh Dobbs to be that guy next year. So, Josh Dobbs, I've said this before. I think it's better than 50-50 that if Josh Dobbs clears waivers, he goes to the practice squad for the Steelers. If he does not make the Steelers practice squad, he may not be on a practice squad on week 1, but he'll be on a practice squad by the end of September. He's going to get a chance to be in the NFL this year on a practice squad. I don't think there's any chance he'll be on a 53-man roster initially, barring an unforeseen injury.
The thing is, okay, let's say you go through all the trouble, he clears waivers, and you get him on the practice squad. How the heck are you going to get him any reps? I guess if you're playing a mobile quarterback that upcoming week, then you could use him that way to give you some looks on the scout team. But for the most part, aren't you going to want whatever available reps there are to go to Mason Rudolph? I mean, obviously, Landry Jones is going to struggle to get any reps behind Ben Roethlisberger. And then Mason, how it's extremely hard to I mean, what's Josh Jobs going to do during practices? Go get people water?
Look, it's not, you don't always get all the reps you want. Doesn't mean you can't be working on things, learning things, staying mentally prepared. Landry Jones doesn't need a ton of reps. So, yeah, look, it's not a perfect situation, but you can have Dobbs run the scout team 1 week. Rudolph. Hey, look, Mason Rudolph, how much is he going to play this year? A lot of it's the learning process, going through that. So, he's ready to go next year. So, yeah, his reps and practice. Look, Ben takes a lot of practice reps. So, guys aren't going to get a ton of reps no matter what. And they're not going to get a lot of first-team reps, period. So, being around the team, being in the environment, you can still develop. But, yeah, none of them are going to get a ton of reps.
Here's the thing. You go through all that problem and give them to your practice squad, and 8 weeks into the season, somebody plucks them right off of it. I guess no risk it, no biscuit, right? As Bruce Arians likes to say. Going to definitely be interesting to see how that aspect of it plays out here. Anything else on this 50? What are you doing with Cody Sensabaugh, David? Are you keeping 6 corners?
Yeah, Cody's going to make the team. He's going to make the team. So. It's been interesting that Cam Sutton didn't get as many reps maybe as people would have anticipated throughout this, and he's obviously not going to be the punt returner. I don't think it's not much of a commentary on Cam Sutton, but it'll be interesting to see how much he plays in this. If he plays most of the game coming up tomorrow night on Thursday. What do we have? We had the 2 contract extensions. Boswell, the Boswell numbers are out now, and Vance McDonald. We get to see those.
Boswell and Vince Williams' contract numbers have hit.
Vince Williams. Right.
Yeah, both of them. Their previously scheduled cap charges slightly went
slightly
up.
Higher.
Went slightly higher. Nothing earth-shattering there. I think Vince got a little bit more guaranteed money than I thought. I kind of viewed him as getting maybe around $4.85 million in signing bonus. He got around.
I'd say I was a little surprised at the deal. Period. It wasn't on my radar. Vince has been a good player, not a great player, but it just good for him. He's getting a lot of money up front. And Chris Boswell's getting a lot of money up front. Getting about $8 million. Chris Boswell's getting about $8 million up front. You want to talk about some life-changing money for a guy who didn't have a job a couple of years ago? Getting about $8 million this year. It's a $6 million signing bonus. Pretty darn good, and he's earned every penny of it.
Yeah, and now obviously you don't Ryan Switzer being on a rookie deal. That's not you don't have anything really vested in him future-wise as far as potential cap dead money. Now, it was interesting. I had to look, with certain things come up on the Twitter machine, I had to make sure some of these guys had that little blue check mark next to them because a couple of things will surprise you. They restructured the contract of Vance McDonald. Now it's not earth-shattering by any stretch of the imagination because basically this restructure increases his cap charges in from 2019, 2020, and 2021, and increases his cap charges by almost $750,000 of $1 million there. So that's not anything that you can't get past. Should you have to cut him. But it did create $2.1825 million in salary cap space on top of it. Now, yes, Vince Williams, his new contract, and Boswell eats up, a little bit of that, but, makes you kind of wonder, might we see something else come from Kevin Colbert here? As far as getting somebody off of the waiver wire or acquiring somebody via trade, because it already looked like they had a nice little cushion there, and then you got a couple of cuts coming up that probably going to free up a little bit of cap space there. It makes you wonder maybe if this restructure for Vance McDonald is maybe a sign that maybe another there's going to be a late ad of some kind coming. What it does guarantee is Vance McDonald's deal. For those of you that were hoping Vance McDonald would be cut between now and the start of the regular season. Sorry, folks, that's not going to happen. Say your rosary that he stays on the field and gets over this foot injury and all like that, which Kevin Colbert seems to think that he'll be ready to go by the start of the regular season there. So interesting to see that restructure surface here. When it did. Mike Tomlin told us that there's an ongoing punting competition.
Yeah, it'd be hard for me to believe that the good performance by Weil, particularly on the game on Saturday, is going to be a driver to make a change. I think Berry. Look, we've all seen Jordan Berry's had some level of inconsistency that the Steelers would like to have improved. It was interesting why Tomlin discussed giving Weil the opportunity to kick off in the previous game and then punt in this game, and he did well for himself. He certainly, as Mike said, put things on tape that other teams can see. And every year we see teams, we consider him more a punter, but every year we see teams, make changes at those two positions. So he'll get an opportunity. I wouldn't follow, not jaw hitting the ground, because we've seen the Steelers make changes at this position before. That's how Jordan Berry got the job with an incumbent there. But I would be surprised if they made a change at the position. And this is where, seeing performance in practice on a daily basis all the way through, may have a little bit of an impact. And as I said, Berry's inconsistency at times during his career and at times during the preseason at least opened the door for this conversation.
I'm not going to be surprised if they make the move, David. Why do you care?
So do you think they will make the move?
I think it truly is an open competition going into this final game. Okay, if it wasn't, it would make more sense to go ahead and use the extra roster spot on something. Okay, I think you're not going to find anybody willing to trade for any one of these two guys. I mean, could we have a situation here where someone comes calling for Weil, or for a 7th round pick for Weil, or a 7th round pick for Berry, the way the Giants did a few years ago with a 6th or a 7th for Brad Wing,
that's not out of the realm of possibility. Again, it would surprise me, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Get a 6th or a 7th back for that you just you didn't really technically, you just moved up. You traded a 5th for a 6th to get Switzer there. But I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and it's not a huge limb. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they keep Weil over Berry.
Okay, I think it'll be the other way. Look, I think let
me tell you, you save 1.3. The cap space is look, which one's going to help your football team? You don't look at this as saying, oh, well, let me ask you this: if the two are dead even, who are you keeping? If you consider this a dead even heat, who are you keeping? If it becomes a flip a coin situation between,
if everything's equal, you keep the cheaper guy, I guess. Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine dead even. I mean, it would have to be. Berry has experience in the league, and you've seen what he's done, so that gives him no pun intended, a huge leg up. But yeah.
Matt Wiles kicked some in the NFL too.
Yeah, I think it'll be Berry, but again, I'd put it as 75-25.
All right, I'll go out on a limb. It's not a long one, but I'll go out on a limb and say they're going to make a change. But obviously, if Matt Weil uncorks a JV punt, let me ask you this: have you seen enough about Berry now that you just let Matt Weil kick this entire game Thursday night?
I'd probably put a little pressure on Jordan Berry and say, these matter. Let's see what you do. I mean, if he has to go out there and know that, the pressure of maybe punting for your job and see how he reacts to it's probably not a bad thing.
And Mike Tomlin said as much yesterday, right? He says, it's a final exam. He says it's weighted. It is, because you want to see how they perform under duress or anxiety or pressure, because that's reflective of this journey we're about to get on that is a regular season. So I don't mind drawing them all in telling them how important this game is, because it is, and seeing how they perform, knowing all of that. I think you're learning a little bit about them in the midst of that, and that's okay. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think you let both guys. Do you leave this entirely up to Danny Smith?
No. Mike's going to be, that's not a, Danny doesn't know a lot more than Mike knows. It's that, they'll have a conversation.
All right. I think there's some fire where that smoke's coming out of there. I really do. Okay. What else do we have? What are you looking for? In this preseason finale against the Panthers?
Well, I'm going to be interested to see how much the first team defense plays in this game. Do they put them out there? We've seen in the past in week 4 that they put these guys sometimes out there for a series or a quarter. I would expect maybe look, I don't know that we'll see Cam, but we're going to see a lot of guys that you would expect to be on the field in the opener, probably in this game early on, and see them have another good solid first quarter or whatever they get. That'll be point 1. I'm interested to see how Josh Dobbs plays and what receivers he plays with to start the game. Will Justin Hunter start again, or how much time will James Washington get? And then I don't think we'll see James Conner. That would surprise me. So then how's the running back rotation going to work if it's Samuels and Fitz, and is Stephen Ridley going to get a chance to, is he going to be healthy enough to get a chance to, at least put something out there to try to make this team?
I haven't got your thoughts on the game the other day. Did you, how were you able to go back and watch?
Yeah, I did. And certainly look, and what are we watching? We're watching the defense. That's what that's what certainly my focus was on, the defense and getting pressure on the quarterback, having your 2 defensive ends do what they did, being impactful players, seeing Vince, play well on that inside position. Those are encouraging signs. And as discouraging as it was against the Packers, and I said, come on, take a breath. It's, your 3 of your 5 best players weren't out there on defense. As discouraging as that was, I would say, this was equally encouraging, but I also wouldn't read too much overall into it. I just say it's very nice to have that be the fresher taste in your mouth for the Steelers as they get ready, with 10 days to go till the regular season.
Yeah, I think. Let me ask you this: has there been too much overreaction about this defense this preseason?
Well, I think the overreaction isn't about the defense this preseason. The reaction is still a continuation of the reaction to the embarrassment of the Jaguars game. So until they play a real game that matters, that's still going to be front and center in everybody's mind, and rightly so. So I don't have any problem with it. So I'd say no, there has not been an overreaction.
I have seen enough of Cam Heyward and Stephon Tuitt. Stephon Tuitt had really had a nice game against the Titans. That for anybody who might have been worried about him heading into that game, you shouldn't be worried anymore. Now I want to keep him healthy. I'm not playing Heyward or Tuitt Thursday. Do you need to see any more Bostic and Williams? Quite honestly.
Oh, sure. I would think you probably see him a little bit.
All right.
I would expect to see Bostic for sure. I would expect to see Vince play some. You don't have a ton of guys, and I would expect everybody else to be out there.
I mean, are you playing Hayden? Are you playing, if T.J. Watt gets a green light, are you letting him go out there and run around a little bit?
I think you'd want to have T.J. Watt play some snaps. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can go into this and say, we can't have a guy get injured, a guy who hasn't played at all in particular. So, yeah, that's got to be a big part of it.
How much of your offensive line you're not playing Pouncey, right?
I'm not playing Pouncey.
Are you playing DeCastro? How much? I'm not. I'm buying a lot of. I'm living in my fears this week, David. I'm living in a lot of fears this week.
Fair enough. I get it.
You got these. I want to see a lot of Banner. That Zach Banner. I want to see more of him I want to see him and Chooks both get some left tackle and right tackle work. Geez. Who else? I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of Matt Filer at center, to be honest with you. just to see, God forbid we run into that situation. Obviously want to see the two quarterbacks in Dobbs and Rudolph. I want to see Patterson get some time. I want to see James Washington battle back through this oblique or abdominal injury and get some time on offense. Unfortunately, we're not going to see any Vance McDonald. Probably doubtful that we're going to see any Xavier Grimble either. We're going to see a lot of Bucky Hodges and Farrell McKeever, I think, at tight end. I think they got enough bodies there.
Yeah, we're going to see all the backups. I mean, they're all going to play.
I don't know how much I need to see a James Conner at this point. I would like to see some more Jalen Samuels. Oh, Marcus Allen, is he going to make it? No way he makes it, right?
Yeah, no chance. No chance.
I mean, you're not keeping 5 safeties, right?
Yeah, you're not keeping 5 of the guys who played it all. So, what are you going to do?
All right. Joshua Fraser's not making it probably. I mean, you're keeping Dan as long as he's healthy, right?
Yep, Dan made the team. Good for Dan.
I never saw that one coming.
Yeah, that's a little surprising.
All right. We will be back on Friday to recap. It feels like we're missing something. Are we missing anything?
I don't think so. I think we got it all.
All right. We'll be back on Friday to discuss what we saw during the Thursday game, some last-minute probably roster predictions here as well, too. We hope to announce a new advertiser for the show as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow David Todd on Twitter at David M. Todd. You can follow the show at Terrible Podcast. You can email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do on the show here and you want to donate to the cause, maybe set up some sort of monthly membership thing, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit that donate button, upper right navigational bar. Additionally, we now have an ad-free version of Steelers Depot for a $25 annual subscription price, if you will. You can have an ad-free version of Steelers Depot, both desktop and mobile. Comes with that subscription. Hit go ad-free in the upper right navigational bar, and that'll take you to the sign-up page. We had to fix something on the site yesterday, so if you were trying to sign up on that and couldn't, you should be able to do that today as well, too. That's got it. Got a couple of fantasy football drafts coming up this weekend as well, too. I'm excited about. David, and until Friday.
Until Friday, then we will be looking toward week 1 of the 2018 NFL season. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave.